The Arizona Coyotes are inching closer to finding their new arena, as Coyotes president has said that they're really close and they'll be announcing relatively soon. Plus, a little preview for the Arizona Coyotes versus the Colorado Avalanche. All in today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Coyotes, #1 daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app and create an account. Use the code Locked On NHL for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Robyn Leonio. Matthew Jacobson still off this week. He's on vacation, getting some well-deserved vacation. So I'm bringing on some guests. Carl Pavlock, former co-host of Locked On Coyotes and manager of Howling.com, joining us in today's episode. Carl, welcome back to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be back.
It's good to have you. As we're looking at the different, we were talking about the differences between between the team that you and I covered when you were a co-host versus the team that we have now. It is like a night and day difference. A lot more of an exciting team to watch.
It's definitely an exciting team. It is a bit of a surprise to see like kind of who is performing well and what is happening. I remember because I think I stopped like not long after the season ended. And I was
right before the election.
Yeah. And I was a lot more pessimistic about what the state of the team was going to be because they traded off so many kind of key people. There didn't really seem to be a plan for a lot of it. But I think that General Manager Bill Armstrong made a number of moves in the offseason that have really kind of revitalized the team in a way. Like the acquisitions of Jersey, signing Kerfoot, Zucker. Matt Dumba hasn't been playing up to where I'd like him to be playing, but I do think that there's potential for something more there. Like this team is definitely a better team than we got to see when we were covering it for 2 years.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm glad you mentioned Kerfoot because he was one of the 3 stars that I had on with Mike Gould, and I feel like he's kind of like not, even though it's not full time, but he for part of the time he's kind of filling in nicely as to kind of help while Barrett Hayton is injured to center Keller and Schmaltz. Cooley's also doing that as well, so it's kind of like us rotate between Cooley and Kerfoot up there at times. So you'll see them, but Kerfoot's doing well up there, and I feel like, and he's no matter where he's puts, I feel like he's slotting in pretty nicely.
Yeah, like I absolutely want Barrett Hayton to be back as soon as possible,
100%.
provided it doesn't prolong an injury. I don't want him to get rushed, but like when he's ready, I think he should like step in and take that. Cooley, I think, has been good. I think it was against Vegas, like the move he did at the boards to get the puck up to, what was it, Schmaltz and Keller, if I'm remembering that play correctly, was really good. I want more of that, but it's a lot to expect from a 19-year-old, like to be against the top competition in the NHL. You want him to, have a little bit of an easy season, like put him against the third line, not necessarily like the people that Keller and Schmaltz are facing. So there's something that makes sense in having Kerfoot do that.
Yeah, and it just really helps Cooley, especially since again he's a younger guy. But I mean, Cooley's making strides. I mean, like he's been looking good for a good part of the season already. But now he's taking more shots. He's starting to look more confident and comfortable out there, and I feel like that's everything is gonna start rounding out pretty quickly here.
Yeah, I would have been shocked if Cooley kind of like stepped in and immediately was the Coyotes' top center. Like that's just not really the way it works. Like it takes time to adjust to a different level of game. It takes time to kind of like adjust to the season as a whole, like to your line mates. Like all of this takes time. So like I personally see Cooley as like on just the right track. I wish he was doing more. I wish he kind of was better 5-on-5, but he's getting there, like you said.
Yeah, we're about a quarter way through the season. Any other observations that you've made through this team? Because I mean, there could be a lot. Because you've already said this. I mean, there's a lot of players who have impressed, and Bill Armstrong's made all the right moves.
Yeah, kind of two players I want to highlight because I did just do an article about kind of my thoughts 20 games in on 5 for Howling. Two that don't get nearly enough attention. Michael Carcone, who again had a 2-goal night, really good. And Lawson Krause has absolutely stepped up his game, is doing some really good stuff with Michelli and Bukestad. I really love that line. I love kind of Krause as the trigger man. And I don't necessarily see either of those players getting the same attention. Krause more so, because I think a lot of people kind of recognize that he is just a really good power forward. But
right.
He is I think he was on pace for a 40-goal season. I don't think he's going to get that, but could he be getting his first 30-goal season? Who knows?
It's certainly possible, and I think that's definitely something to watch out for. And again, as this team just slowly gets better, they could be a bubble team. The heck, people there are some predictions out there that were earlier in the season where the Coyotes make the second wild card spot this year, which isn't out of the realm. I don't think it's going to happen, but isn't out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I think my opinion going into the season was if they're still competing in early March, the team is on the right path.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to continue talking on Locked On Coyotes. The Arizona Coyotes president is saying that we're getting closer to an arena announcement. We can dive into some speculation, maybe see what we're going to, what we can get out of it. Plus, the Coyotes play the Avalanche, so we're going to talk about that as well. But first, we're going to take a quick word from our sponsors on today's show. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. I know so many of you guys get so frustrated by just the way the experience that you have to get for buying tickets, whether it's the deals are bad, you get surprised by these fees after you hit checkout, the seats you get are actually not what you expected. There's a lot of different frustrations that can come to mind. Game Time is the app that goes and takes everything and fixes it for upcoming events in your area. You can easily get tickets. All you got to do is that they have last minute deals, flash deals, zone deals. Easy to find and buy tickets for all kinds of events in areas, whether it's a sports event, a concert, a comedy show, whatever you might want to watch. You can see the seats from the venue. When you buy a ticket, they have the low price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and even my favorite part is all-in pricing. They show your total up front so you know that you're going to get a deal without the hidden fees, and you can buy your tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL. That's LOCKED. ONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Once again, thanks everyone for making Locked On Coyotes your first listen every day. We are free and available everywhere you get your podcasts. Also, be sure to check us out on SiriusXM and also ad-free on Amazon Music. Carl, let's continue on this episode. As we talk about, last night, or I guess 2 nights ago when everyone's going to be listening to this episode, Javier Gutierrez has kind of went on record to say that the arena announcement is coming very soon. And it seems that the expectation is probably by the end of this calendar year, that we're getting really close, maybe even sooner. I mean, I guess we're only a month away. We're only a month from the end of the calendar year, so it could be within this next range. It is happening really, really soon. And I think the speculation from everybody has ramped up. Everyone's guessing on where it is. I'll say about 90% of people are probably wrong.
What, you think my idea that it's going to be on top of Camelback Mountain is incorrect?
I know. I mean, that'd be fun, but that is definitely incorrect. I do like the idea of
Digging
digging into
inside? Yeah.
digging into Camelback Mountain. That would be pretty cool.
That would be like an environmental disaster, and I would, hate it as a person, but I would be like, man, I'm going to every single game. Like, give me season tickets. I want to go in the supervillain lair, turned arena.
That would, honestly though, like, can only imagine what that would like. The everything that would entail if that would actually be the case. So obviously, that was all a joke and all in fun. But I think a lot of things are coming out slowly. We're figuring out exactly where it's going to be, and I think everything is based off what we knew already, right? So the 101 corridor, right? Following along the 101. I think that's the most important part because that's going to get ease of access for everybody in the valley, whether you're on the West Valley or the East Valley.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not as much easy access on the West Valley, but we knew that it was going to be a more East Valley centric location.
It is further east, and I think even still, like, so my and I obviously we can't say exactly which spot because there's a lot of difference. Again, there's a lot of different possibilities here. But I think from the understanding of what we're getting, like, I think a lot of people are saying it's going to be like I said, East Valley along the 101. I don't think it's going to delve too far south into like Mesa.
Yeah.
Because I feel like as much as I love that Mesa spot, I just moved into a new apartment, Carl, and there's my new apartment is literally just about like 2 blocks away from where the that supposed LOI of land purchase was set for. So I was like, you know what? If they built there, I won't complain. I'll just like bike to the games and no issues. It'd be pretty cool. Or to the games.
It was the same with me and like being close to the light rail. Like, I'm like, I live close to the light rail. This would be very convenient for me. And unfortunately, that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. It's weird because, we observe this so long and it becomes like very important to us because we are covering the team and we need to know like what's going on, what the time frame is.
Yeah.
And it does feel like this was always kind of the time frame that we were going to look at, and then that LOI happened, and everyone's like, "Oh, maybe it's going to be sooner."
Mm-hmm. But no, it just was some smoke and mirrors. It's just essentially it's kind of like putting us aside because at the time they were still looking at multiple sites.
Yeah.
But from our understanding is right now practically they are down to one site. And they are just finalizing the initial details of the deal before making the announcement. So the next announcement will be the site. There's no going to be, hey, we have another potential spot. These are our 3 options. No, the next one is going to be the spot. And I feel like that is, I think, comforting for Coyotes fans to know that this thing is almost over.
I mean, it's not. It's never over until it's over. But it is kind of it's good that at this point we seem to be on schedule and they're going to give us like a finalized location. Like, this is it. This is what we're going to make work. Because as fun as it was to be like, hey, let's speculate. These are like kind of some of the sites that we were looking at. This is a letter of intent to purchase land. This is kind of what we're seeing. Like, that got old really quick, and was just like, just tell us what it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's take a look back at over the summer, like shortly after the election, like Matt and I were going through like a million different possibilities. We're like, oh, what about near Talking Stick Resort by Arizona Boardwalk, by where the Phoenix Rising used to play, by like on the side of Fiesta Mall, that right next to Riverview is the spot where the LOI and was supposedly. Some people were like, "Hey, why not just go to Madhouse and McDowell?" Which never was going to happen. Why not move in with in the Footprint Center? Have Matt Ishbia buy it out. There were like every single option that was literally brought forward. We're just like, nope, 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 nope. Like you can like think about it. How many different options we went through. So when as we're getting closer, like I'm feeling pretty confident. I feel pretty confident that this spot is gonna be it, and it's gonna be the one. It's just we'll see what all the fans think about it.
So I don't know the location. I don't even have a guess really. So I'm not confident in that. What I am confident in is that the Coyotes organization learned their lesson from Tempe.
Yes, that's the big one.
Because ultimately, like, I do wonder, like, what would have happened if they treated that election differently. We talked about it because we were covering the team together when it happened, and at the time, I'm like, okay, this is kind of, I see the strategy. I don't know if it's going to work, but I see that there is a coherent strategy here, and ultimately, it wasn't done correctly. Which is kind of why I'm surprised that Gutierrez is still with the team. Like you mess up that bad, like there's a potential he could have been fired for that. But that is a learning experience ultimately, and you're like, can't do that again. Really don't want to do that again.
Yeah, no more elections. Heck, they're even trying to avoid as many civil proceedings as possible.
Yeah.
So like, because you don't want to have to go through any of that. I think that's the absolute biggest thing. Is there going to be legal challenges? It's a possibility. It's always a possibility. There's going to be some angry citizen, because this is Arizona, for all we know. It's going to be like, hey, I don't like this. I'm going to sue. And then it's going to create some mucky waters. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a lot easier of a path than this Tempe deal was supposed to be.
Yeah. Which, I mean, you can expect a lawsuit. Like I don't think we were expecting the airport to be suing over like the arena site. Like that was not something that I know I didn't consider. And also something I found very shady. There's a lot about that whole thing that I find distasteful, and I'm sure that the Coyotes organization found a lot of it distasteful too. Ultimately, like arenas are a thing, like, and there is like a format for how they get built, and it doesn't make a lot of people happy, but it can happen, and there's always ways to overcome challenges, both kind of legally and by like proactively doing good things and making sure that your ducks are all in a row, that everything's lined up, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, things that they learned once. Got to do all this. They better not have to learn that lesson again.
One thing I will say is I can guarantee the airport will not be even close to an issue on this one.
Yeah. That is, watch freaking Scottsdale Airport is like, we're an airport too. We have restrictions on stuff.
No.
I don't even know where Scottsdale Airport is. I'm vaguely aware that they have one.
Yeah, they have one, but yeah,
I think it's like private planes mostly.
It's like private, like smaller aircrafts.
Yeah. Not like Mesa's, whose airport is like just middle of nowhere.
The Gateway Airport, where all they literally have is Allegiant Airlines, I think.
Yeah, I so this is a tangent, and then we can go to commercial. Back when I was an Uber driver, like I picked someone up in Tempe, and they're like, take me to the airport. And I'm like, all right, I know which airport you're going to. I need you to pull out your phone and look at the path so you don't accuse me of ripping you off. And the guy's like, pulls out his phone. It's like, it's that far away? And I'm like, yes, it is that far away. So I can take you. Just don't expect to go to Sky Harbor. It's like, okay, yeah, sure. And it was kind of a funny thing where I was like, I know that airport. You are not going to believe me when I say how far away it is.
Yeah, no, it is way out of the way. I actually drove by it not too long ago, and I was like, wow, it is all the way over there. And I live in Mesa, so
I used to live in Gilbert and work at that airport, so I know exactly where it is.
yeah, I mean, also Mesa is huge, so
It's
that's
massive.
yeah, it's the third largest city in Arizona, right? Yeah, Phoenix
By
two.
like space,
No, by population, so and then by space, it's like I think maybe the largest, but
yeah, but by space, I would be surprised if it's not the largest.
either that or Tucson, because Tucson's also pretty big. It's really spread out. Anyways, that's that tangent is over. But like we said, expect an announcement soon, and expect it's going to be the site, and that they're going to be avoiding any public vote whatsoever, any kind of like public piece, just to make sure they get it locked down. But once they announce it, by the way, that doesn't mean it's over. They still have to go through the finalizing the deals, of course.
Yeah, it's never over until like puck drop on the season opener. Then I may believe that it's done. Like,
Yeah.
And even then, like I may just like expect them to be like, all right, we made a mistake. Midway through the third period, we're shutting this down.
until a Stanley Cup is lifted in that arena.
Yeah. Until I die, like on my deathbed, I'll be like, maybe the Coyotes are finally stable.
Just gotta love that. Anyways, that's gonna be it for that discussion. We're gonna take a little bit of a preview, kind of get our thoughts, our little quick thoughts on the Arizona Coyotes versus the Colorado Avalanche. We'll talk about that right after this. And today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need, all the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. All right, Carl, let's take a look now at the Coyotes versus the Avalanche, because it is going to be a tough one. As I mentioned, they are continuing through the Stanley Cup champions gauntlet of having to go through each of the last 5 Stanley Cup champions. And Mike Gould made a point that, to be fair, now in terms of this gauntlet, 2 of these teams aren't like high caliber teams anymore. In the Blues and the Capitals, they're kind of just like mid now. Yeah. But the other 3 teams, that the Golden Knights, the Lightning, and the Avalanche, are the more difficult ones. They beat the Golden Knights and the Lightning. Now they got the Avalanche coming up.
Yeah, which, I mean, it was good to see the Coyotes play up to their competition. Like, I don't think either the Vegas game or the Tampa Bay game were perfect. The team kind of was a bit too passive. They kept up with both teams, but they never really kind of dominated and took control. They did more so against the Lightning than they did against the Golden Knights, in my opinion. But 2 solid performances. I do kind of like a team that plays up to their competition. I just wish that they, maybe were better in that Blues game.
I mean, the Blues game, they weren't bad. The defense just wasn't there.
They weren't 7 penalties in 2 periods bad.
Yeah, that was the issue. That was the main issue. I mean, because there was no defense on either side, let's be real. So the issue was, taking all those penalties, and that's what killed them. Yeah. They had so much momentum, and then the penalties happened, and then it was gone. They kind of fixed that up and tidied it up against Vegas and Tampa Bay. Vegas, they still weren't perfect, but they still made. They still came home with a win, a shutout win for all that too.
Yeah.
And then you have, the game against Lightning, which was a great game.
Yeah, very good game. Maybe the Coyotes best this season. I'm not sure if I'm.
Could be.
Yeah.
I,
Probably in the competition.
Up there. And I feel like, getting 2 wins back to back against 2 of the top teams in the league is sure huge. Now you have to go against the best team in the Central Division and a potential Stanley Cup favorite for this year. So that's going to be a huge challenge. We don't know who's going to be in goal. Is it going to be even Ivan Prosvetov? He's actually played pretty well for Colorado right now.
Good for him.
So, he's kind of get thrown to the fire. Maybe they put him up against the Coyotes, against his former team. But
Ingram did well against the team that drafted him. So there's a logic in that. I am definitely kind of more concerned about who the Coyotes are going to start because you mentioned Vegas game shutout. Connor Ingram stood on his head against the Tampa Bay Lightning. There is, at this point, it really does. The team requires a goaltender to be a stable anchor for them, which is not ideal in my experience. You don't want to be overly relying on your goaltender unless there's someone with a proven track record.
Yeah.
For being amazing.
Vejmelka has been fine. He's been serviceable, this season. But I feel like, and I think that's the point that we're trying to get at is Connor Ingram is kind of that de facto starter. Is how do you, how do you do that? Do you want to, ride the hot hand and give it to Ingram?
Yeah.
I would, but at the same time, do you want to burn him out going against the top back to back, the top 3 teams in the league?
Yeah. Do you want to give him 3 games in what? That'd be 6 days, 5 yet, however many days. It's a heavy workload for someone who was previously just doing every other game. So I don't know. That's definitely I'm glad I don't have to make that call on who to start. I do kind of there was a conversation about Vejmelka being bad, and I do think that's a little misguided. I think he was facing tougher competition, but that argument kind of went out the window when Ingram started shutting out the Golden Knights.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And like I mentioned, I think Ingram. I feel Vejmelka is serviceable. I feel like he's got some trade value. I feel like maybe that's something that they can work on, figure out what they can do, because it seems like the Coyotes are gonna be pretty comfortable with having Ingram and net as their de facto starter for now. But who knows? There could be a lot of things.
If you trade Vejmelka,
what's that?
Who do you have as your backup if you trade Vejmelka? Who's ready to be that NHL backup?
Well, I think though that's something that I think even a deeper discussion on, because I don't think you'd have to bring someone else in, because I as much as you could take a look at what they have in Tucson. I just don't know if you would bring up Thornton yet, or bringing on his name, Villalta. I wouldn't bring either of them up quite yet. Keep them down there in Tucson so you find somebody else. But that's something that obviously might be worked out through the trade market, figure out exactly how it might work out.
Yeah. It is one of those things where it's such a tough call to make because I don't know who the team is looking at for trading. I can only say that moving Vejmelka may make sense from a roster management perspective at this point, because I do think that he's good. I do think he has value. I don't see an internal replacement, but goalies are kind of easy to get on the trade market. So I do think that there's a possibility for a move like that. But I also can see the team just sticking with a 1A, 1B situation, which is who do you start? That's the question. Who do the Coyotes go with. And whoever the Colorado Avalanche goes with, that to me is going to be the biggest sign. Like if they go with Prosvetov, I do kind of wonder, are they underestimating the team? We've seen what happens when good teams underestimate the Coyotes. But how do you underestimate a team that just beat the Vegas Golden Knights and Tampa Bay Lightning? That seems like it'd be bad scouting. So I don't want to bet on that.
No, and especially since it's a home game too, so it's like it make you even more difficult. No, speaking of making of a bad bet, Carl, I'm gonna take a look at the odds really quick because it's one of the things that I just love to do on this show. I don't have a graphic this time, but the Colorado Avalanche are 1.5 favorites, money line favorites at -184 at the time of this recording, plus 152 for the Coyotes. Total points still remaining at 6.5.
It's been kind of low scoring games previously, so I don't know. I could potentially see betting the under on that.
I'm with you. I think the under is like the safe one. I think it seems to be the favorite based off the betting trends. I feel like based off the way the Coyotes have played the last two games, I'm not gonna. I wouldn't pick them to win on the money line, but I will. I'd be comfortable betting the puck line spread, that plus 1.5, saying they might lose by 1 or win. So it's kind of like
I could definitely see it. Like the Coyotes have surprised me a number of times this season. They have beaten teams that they, by all means, should not, and they have lost games to teams that they should not have lost games to. So I do think that right now things are gelling well. There is a better consistency to the lineup, even with injuries to key players. Like Sean Darcy was almost out last game, and I was like, no, you can't do this to me. But I can definitely see it. The idea that this is close is not outside of the realm of possibilities for me. So I can respect those bets.
I'm going to give a score prediction on this one. I'm going to say this one's going to end up 3-2 Avalanche.
Okay. I'm going to go 3-2 Coyotes. Might as well.
3-2 Coyotes. I like that.
Yeah.
Going bold on that one. I love it. But those are our picks. Carl, where can Locked On Coyotes listeners find you?
Sure. So the site 5 for Howling is the best place to go. Right now, it's mostly just game coverage, so previews and recaps. However, I am constantly trying to add in more stuff. Like I said, I just did a article about just kind of some stray thoughts. 20 games in, talked about I think 8 different things. You can also find me on Twitter. It's the word 5, number 4, word Howling. Same address for Blue Sky. Actually, this season, I think starting like 3 games in, all in-game updates have been on Blue Sky primarily, because anytime you're on Twitter, you can see someone being like, hey, this goal just happened, great move here. That's less so on Blue Sky, and it's kind of the platform that I'm looking to build right now.
Hey,
so,
taking advantage of a market that's not quite there yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Set up my flag first. I do hope that eventually, like, more people follow to that. I know that there is definitely some technical things, like we're not getting video of the plays. I would like to see more, but yeah, that's where to go.
perfect. And that's going to be it for today's episode of Locked On Coyotes. Thanks, Carl, for joining us in today's episode. If everyone liked what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcasts, including on YouTube, SiriusXM, and ad-free on Amazon Music. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Locked On Coyotes, the app formerly known as Twitter, now known as X, at @LO_Coyotes. I am personally at Robyn_Leonio. It's Robyn with a Y_LEANO. And my co-host Matthew Jacobson, who's not here today, is at the AZ Sports Guy. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.